time talking about what we mean when we use the word migration. And as Mike introduced to us in the beginning of the webinar, I will share with you a couple of short stories about how some schools have dealt with migration and how some schools have experienced some successes and some things that maybe not be called successes and so forth. We'll talk about migration philosophy here at rSmart, and then at the end, questions from you guys, and hopefully get to all of those. So what do we mean when we talk about migration, or what does that word actually mean? Quite generally, we are talking about taking content from some system, and we will, throughout this webinar, refer to that source system as your legacy system. So some system, in some system, there exists some content, and that content, usually course content, needs to be moved from that system into Sakai. And so quite generally, that is just what that means. We need to get our courses from some other system and put them into Sakai. Now, that sounds quite simple, but I want to share with you that this process at any school is not just about the technology. This is not a push-button approach where you can just magically move content from some system into Sakai. There is some project management involved, and more importantly, there is some expectations management involved with regard to how you deal with your faculty members and the people who own those courses that are going to be moved. And so to illustrate what I mean here, rather than just talking at you, what I am going to do is share with you a couple of stories from some schools that I've visited and a couple of things that those schools have learned. Now, something interesting about this webinar is that the schools whose stories I'm telling are actually listening. There are four of the 6 stories here are on this call right now. So when you guys recognize your story, if I say anything wrong, just feel free to type that information into the question section and ask Mike Zackerson to correct me. I hope to do you justice here. So we'll keep everybody anonymous, but the first story regarding migration is a story about a school who moved a couple of years ago from Blackboard to eCollege. And eCollege, as you know, is another learning management system, and so the school chose to move from Blackboard to eCollege, and eCollege, as the vendor, actually offered to do the migration for the school. So the institution paid eCollege, and eCollege had people who somehow moved content from Blackboard into eCollege. And so this kind of all just happened, right? So eCollege just did this. Now, a couple of days before the semester started, the instructors got their courses, and so they logged into eCollege and they accessed their courses and they looked at their courses, and they responded with something like, "What the heck am I supposed to do with this?" So that kind of tells us, I mean, that it is probably important in any migration to somehow involve the faculty members. And in fact, this particular client has chosen to move off of eCollege and migrate into Sakai. And they've already got a very well-established plan in place on ensuring that they are well, just making sure that this gets done correctly this time. So they're involving faculty members. They've already done that, and they're getting ready to start practicing moving some of those courses into Sakai. Another migration story is a story that I actually got from 2 schools, 2 separate, completely independent schools. They didn't talk to each other, weren't friends, but they both in fact kind of had the same story about moving from WebCT to Blackboard. Now, I haven't seen this happen. I've only heard the stories, but as some of you know, WebCT and Blackboard are now both owned by Blackboard, and so I guess these migrations happened when Blackboard said, well, we are going to upgrade you from some version of WebCT to some newer version of WebCT, or we are going to upgrade you from some version of WebCT to Blackboard. And I think what they called that was an upgrade. What it ended up being was a migration. And from what I've heard from these folks, and a couple of you are on the line, it was a fairly painful process, only because the tools in the legacy system did not really match up with the tools in the target system very well. And so the instructors, again, were really unhappy about that because this was something that was just supposed to happen for them, and it did, and it didn't happen exactly the way the instructors wanted it to. And so they were a little less pleased. Another story is about migrating from Angel to the rSmart Sakai CLE. Now, this was a client that rSmart had a couple of years ago. Well, still has. This is still a client of ours. But this is a school that was using Angel, and they wanted to move their content into Sakai. So what they did was they hired an independent contractor, which is a fine idea. But the problem was the independent contractor did not know Angel, and the independent contractor did not know the rSmart CLE. And what existed in Angel was publisher content from, I think, Florida Virtual Learning. And this content actually ran itself. It was content that you could just kind of send. You could send in an email to somebody, so the instructors would download their content or get it from the vendor. It was in a zip file, and when you expanded the zip file, there was like an index.html file that started the content, and it just ran itself. And so what happened was this contractor didn't quite realize that, and so the contractor copied and pasted all of the files into various places into the rSmart CLE, and that didn't work. When we finally figured it out, when the client asked rSmart if we could maybe take a look at some of this content and help, it turns out that the content just kind of moved right into Sakai resources, and it took it about 5 minutes or so. So those are some stories that we can describe as very valuable learning experiences for us as well as for our clients. Now, rSmart has been involved in some migration assessments from Blackboard into the rSmart Sakai CLE, WebCT into the rSmart Sakai CLE, and other homegrown systems. So we have helped schools move content from those homegrown systems into the rSmart CLE. Now, what we don't do is do it all for you. There is a requirement, really, that faculty members and people who actually use the system need to be involved in this project. And so migration, I guess what I'm saying, is not a push-button technology thing that just happens. It is a project that needs to be managed. So I've got some content that I've got permission to show you guys today. So what I'm going to do is, just as a quick example, show you one of the more recent migrations that we did, and I'd like to thank the Naval Postgraduate School for giving us permission to show a couple of screen captures of this content. Now, what I'm not able to do is show you the entire course due to privacy reasons and so forth, but I can show you a couple of things and a couple of screens within this course and how it kind of translates into Sakai. So what we're looking at right now on the screen is a course in Blackboard. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see a list of the different quote-unquote tools that exist in Blackboard. Of course, Blackboard, just like any other system, has tools that are different and function differently than the tools that exist in Sakai. But at any rate, this particular course has some introductory material, some course information material that we kind of thought might be syllabus-like. Indeed, this is something that actually links you into the course syllabus. And then many instructors in Blackboard use what's called the content area tool. It's basically a tool that allows you to build stuff, and you can name it whatever you want and stick it over here on the left-hand side of the screen. And so it's kind of hard to figure out what exactly in Blackboard needs to go into Sakai. But as part of our migration service, what we do is we will migrate up to 5 courses for you from your legacy system into Sakai, document the workflow, and give you the report as far as how much effort was involved. At that point, you can go through the report and sort of figure out who is going to do what, if that makes sense. So we're in Blackboard. We're looking at